Hi, everybody. We're the Skeleton Crew, and today we are talking about an Asian stegosaur. I don't want to predict how long the video will be because God has other plans for me every time I try to do so.
Welcome to our longest
when I
video.
Demonstrate such hubris.
We're gonna break 4 hours this time.
It's gonna be.
I have hired
the opposite of the name.
Yeah, I dearly hope so. I hired somebody on a TaskRabbit. He's standing just off frame. If we go longer than an hour and 30 minutes in this recording, he's instructed to shoot me on camera. So the man does not seem to relish his task, but he will do what the TaskRabbit compels him to do. So we're going to keep this video short so I can dismiss him.
TaskRabbit
Jesus Christ.
requires me to kill.
Okay.
Listen, we all live our lives wanting to be the rabbit, but all too often we become the task. So, you know who I am? I'm Dr. James Napoli. I'm a PhD candidate. Or, no, I'm not. Jesus Christ.
You perverted.
Jesus Christ.
It's been a long day. I'm Dr. James Napoli. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences and North Carolina State University.
I was checking to see if it was a full moon because something's going on. It's not. We're like 3 days short.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. My name is Amelia Zietlow. I'm a PhD. I'm a PhD candidate at the American Museum of Natural History.
My name is Scott Johnston. I am the vertebrate paleontology, fossil preparator, and technician at Harvard University's Museum of Comparative Zoology, and recently dubbed emotional support preparator for the Skeleton Crew. And we're gonna need it today, it sounds like.
Yeah, we are.
Awesome. My name is Recursive Through Time, and I've forgotten it by acting out these masquerades over and over again. There's only one constant in my life, and that is that here in this corpse city of Carcosa, I will be talking about Asian stegosaurs forever.
I'm tired of this crew, these skeletons.
They better not put another one in the DLC.
These gigants.
I'm just imagining them releasing a DLC that's oops all Asian stegosaurs, and they just released all the other ones that aren't in the game yet.
They're working with a bunch of paleontologists in Yunnan. You're like, if you see a cool like early Silurosaur, dump it. If you find another stegosaur, excavate it and name it, and we're gonna put it in the game.
You may notice that nobody has said, and I'm Dalton Meyer. And that's because Dalton Meyer
met a well-dressed man at a crossroads in New Orleans, and I don't know if we're going to see him again.
He's in a better place. And by a better place, I mean a jazz bar in New Orleans.
Oh, that's a much better place.
That's
oh my God,
a far
so much
better
cooler
place
than
than
where
this.
we are.
I bet he could get an alligator po' boy no problem down there.
Oh, that sounds so fucking good.
I had one last week. It was amazing.
They're honestly top tier sandwich. Alligator po' boy. Big fan.
But together.
Yeah.
Together.
We're the Skeleton
Remain the Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew.
So one just brief exhortation before we release the Asian stegosaur we're oh so excited to talk about. If you like this video for some godforsaken reason, because we're certainly not going to like it, just like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to our Patreon if you are able to, and like our videos enough that you want to support us financially. It helps a lot. We appreciate all of the support we get from our patrons and from our audience as a whole. Thank you all for watching. And now please enjoy the Gigantspinosaurus.
Behold.
You know, I was expecting spines to be more gigant.
Yeah.
You some kind of funny person?
No.
Yeah, there it is. All right, that was a great video, everyone.
I love how even their exit animation is boring as shit.
I like how they have no plates or anything down most of their tail.
Done what?
That's not true, is it? Why is the tail naked?
It's a mistake. I mean, if the drawing on Wikipedia is to be trusted of what remains of this thing, it should have had plates on its tail.
There is a skeletal mount in the Zigong Dinosaur Museum that appears to lack tail osteoderms, but I do wonder if that's well supported.
Skeletal mount has proven to be wrong in several ways.
Oh.
Sadly.
You mean like that the gigant spines are on the wrong sides?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the drawing that's in the redescription. It does not have like any tail, so I've decided to not trust the drawing in Wikipedia.
Also, I just want to point out a cursed thing I just saw. So it looks like this series of like the last one, like 6 plates here, all are rigged and animate as a single like brick unit when it's walking around, and they are disjointed from the rest of the body.
Ooh, they are! Oh no!
Oh God.
Oh,
no.
Wiggly,
They're
wiggly.
literally coming off of the model. Oh, they work in the animation. Oh, weird. Oh, and they don't do anything. Neat. Very cool. Awesome. Good job,
their
guys.
social animation for this vibrant creature. Stand there.
Sniff.
And then
yell.
keep moving.
You were going to say something, James.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, Amelia, what does Gigantspinosaurus mean?
Oh my god, are you kidding me? I didn't have any time to look this up before the meeting. I think I'm just gonna have to guess. It means gigantic spine lizard. Whoa. Do you think that's close?
I think you might have gotten it.
Oh, wow, let me look. Holy cow, that's what it means. I can't believe. I'm sorry, enormous, not gigantic. My bad.
Should have been called it Enormo Spine.
Enormospinosaurus.
No. There has to be no vowel between there. It'd be Enorm Spinosaurus.
This is like the Edward Teller meme. Right?
What?
It's like until someone finds a gigantor Spinosaurus.
Yes.
Oh God. Well, anyway, that's what it means. Its species name is sichuanensis, right?
Yeah.
Because it's from Sichuan.
Yep.
What other
very
things
cool.
are from there?
Well, that's an interesting question. This is also from the shaximiao formation,
Well,
which we've talked about before.
it says it's from one formation in the game, which is wrong.
Wait, does it?
Or maybe that was in the first one. I think the first one had it coming from the Yunnan, which is not correct.
Yeah, we visited the shaximiao before with huayangosaurus, but the astute viewer might notice that there are no huayangosaurus in this exhibit, and that is because huayangosaurus is from the lower shaximiao, and this guy is from the upper shaximiao.
Right. But don't worry. He'll have company when we get to Chunkingosaurus.
There's another one? I thought this was the last
No,
one.
there's one more.
Oh, no. There are more.
Wait, there's...
How many?
There's one more. It's Chunkingosaurus.
Did we already do Werosaurus?
Yeah, we already did
Yes.
Werosaurus.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's memenchisaurus, which is cool. That'll be fun to talk about.
Right, but there are also 4 other stegosaurs from these formations that are not yet in the game, which does mean that it's perfectly DLC size.
Because they always had 4. Oh, you're
If
so
Frontier
right.
really wants to upset us, they could add Bushanosaurus, Chilingosaurus, Tuojangosaurus, and
Yeah.
Yingshanosaurus. The only one of those that is justified is Zhangzhugang.
No. No more. I don't want to, sir. Please don't make
Imagine
me.
the game is like, we want variety in our animals. We also want you to be able to perfectly recreate the biota of the shaximiao formation in particular.
I want like my entire goal in getting Jurassic World Evolution 2, as this thing runs backwards for some reason,
Hey, bag it up.
was to make an entirely stegosaur folk. Oh my god, its shoulder blades break as well when it runs. Look at this. Look at that go.
Oh!
Would you look at the app?
Oh my...
Wait, I'm not seeing it. What am I supposed to be
So
seeing?
its left shoulder blade goes inside the body, and the right one breaks outside the body, which is fun.
All right, no, that happens
Yay.
sometimes.
But
That's how
I wanted to
coracoids
make
work.
an entirely Stegosaur-focused Jurassic World game, or Jurassic World, and this game does not have enough Stegosaurs in it. So,
Yeah.
oh god, we need to do the cursed thing.
What's that?
The perpetual question with all the Jurassic World Stegosaurs: does it have a beak?
Oh, find one. Oh my
I like how
god.
this one's trying to kill itself.
Hey, is it recording a video about another Asian?
About itself. Why does it
does
have
have a
two
beak.
mouths?
It does have a
Because
beak.
two of them are superimposed over each other, I think.
Oh, is that how they do reflection in the game? Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's actually a pretty good beak.
Yeah, all right. Hey.
It's fine.
zoom in.
Yay!
Zoom in a little more. It looks.
It's got the kind of eerie eyes.
Like a doll's eyes.
They're bloodshot.
Rolled back on its head.
Like a
I
doll's
don't-
eyes. It
It
don't
looks
seem
like
to
it's
be
got
living at all
skin that continues. I don't.
till it bites the conifer. And then it's all... Sorry.
Till he strips the fern.
Oh wow, that is weird seeing kind of a little bit of the sausage as it is made on how they do the reflections there. There's just a straight up second
100,000.
one. That's
the
very
model.
funny.
100,000 cycads went into the valley. 3 came out. That movie, that's a quote from a movie audience, and it's probably 50 years older than our entire anyone who watches any of these episodes.
Look, see,
Well, it's not 50 years old yet, so
look at them.
that
They're-
means that the people we're showing this video to are, according to the state of Alabama, people.
yeah, they are. See, look, they are like sharks. They just
Their doors. It's going.
that's what the gigant spine was for.
It was so that they look spooky underwater.
Yeah, so they spoopy, especially because I did a little bit of research into the shaximiao.
Look at him. He did a research. That's so sweet.
No, okay, so I did a little bit of research into the shaximiao formation. I guess we could get this out of the way first, because this is our first time at the upper shaximiao. I looked into a bit. Wow, these guys really don't want to leave the water. Holy. And it seems like the depositional environment was a large lake that was fed by some rivers with... he's running out. Doing the Baywatch run. That was very densely forested around it. There is a lot of evidence of fossilized wood. Specifically, it's a species of extinct conifer, of extinct tropical conifer. So that's why I put it on our Biosyn Valley map, which we normally use for Dinosaur Park, but they specifically state in the paper that describes the conifer, which, yes, I read up on paleobotany for this episode because there's nothing to read up about on Gigantspinosaurus, that it was probably a humid and tropical species of conifer, and it was a conifer-dominated ecosystem, so there's a couple ginkgos spattered throughout here, but it's mostly just some conifers. So that's all I have to say about the shaximiao. Until we come back here for memenchisaurus or Zhangzhugang, which, knowing our luck, will be next episode.
Oh God, I hope not.
If that happens, oh God, if that happens. I also have one fun story to tell about Zhangzhugang. I've got something to say about memenchisaurus.
This is not that video.
I know, but I can't be stopped. So I think it's really, I just really like the species name for the holotype species, which is Memenchisaurus constructus.
It's a good name.
I don't know why it's called that, but that's a good name. This lizard is built. We don't know if it's built different, but it is built.
He's built.
It's definitely built different. It has a very different feature. The Gigant
You
spine.
mean its neck?
Yes.
Oh, no, I was talking about memenchisaurus.
I misheard you.
But that's okay.
Well, yeah. Let's talk
It
about
has maybe
it's fine to
a
bring me
big
back.
club, right?
maybe.
Or Omisaurus? I don't remember which.
Omisaurus, I think, has a club.
Hey, wait a sec.
Tail weaponry.
Oh, wait.
Let's talk about this guy.
Wait, because we haven't done memenchisaurus yet, right?
No, or else it would
Okay.
be in this map.
Then I will save my comment on memenchisaurus for a later time.
So, well, Alex just mentioned the gigant spine in the room. Very clever. So, what can we say about it?
It's big.
It's big.
Gigant, one might even say.
One might call it gigant. It was reconstructed improperly originally, but it seems that the redescription showed that they don't like point down because were they just upside down or were they on the wrong side of the body and upside down?
I wouldn't be surprised
Let
if they
me-
were like mirrored.
Yeah,
Which kind of,
yeah.
No, actually,
no. Looking at that mount,
but I'll say I think that would be a rather silly mistake to make, and I want to give the exhibit designers some credit because in the redescription paper, they actually show a photograph of the skeleton in situ before excavation, and it is shockingly complete with the gigant spines in question in articulation with the body. So it seems like a silly mistake to flip the things that are already there.
yeah.
Does that raise the question about were they actually in the right spot? Because I find it, given the rest of the skeleton, everything is on the right side. Why would the spines swap sides?
Yeah, like they oh no, wait, Amelia, are you asking like are we sure that they pointed up?
Yeah, like what?
I'm sorry. Amelia, I think I see your point of confusion, and I think I said something wrong. I thought that it was attached to the scapulocoracoid, and they had to swap them on different sides of the body to make them go the wrong way. But the spines appear to be separate, so I think it's just that they could be like oriented down or up, right?
I think so.
So yeah, I don't think they actually needed to be flipped onto the other side of the animal. I think they could just be reoriented on the same side. I wish that my computer would allow me to access the redescriptions so that I could look at any primary information. Oh, I got it. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
These spines are getting gigant.
Yeah, look at figure 2 on the third page.
See, you see what I'm getting at though? It looks like that's how they're articulated, with the round part facing up. Like you would have to swap them to make the spines point up.
It's a very pretty image.
Well,
Sorry, I'm
they're
just
kind of
looking at it.
flattened, right?
They're kind of very flattened.
Like they're not both in the same orientation, so one of them has to go into the other orientation, right?
Yeah.
And the one that looks like it's kind of inverted, well, yeah, I mean, I could just see this going either way. But I want to say, Amelia, in favor of your interpretation, I do agree that it looks like the one that's kind of like with the plate up and the spine curving down and back. It, like, to my untrained eye, it looks more articulated.
Like it looks like the other one got flipped up and over, but the
Right.
one that's in the photograph closer was not.
Right, but I could also see it that the one in the photograph closer kind of like fell and changed orientation. The other one got flipped. I could make it either, but I do agree that it kind of looks like it's right.
So it looks like the redescription of the parascapular spines was actually by Tracy Ford.
That's a familiar name.
In prehistoric times. Huh.
I just wish I could access it. I didn't even get prehistoric times at that point in my life.
While you guys are looking this up, we could at least say that from the Gigantspinosaurus specimen that's the nice, pretty one in the redescription, it's been brought up in the comment sections of a couple of our videos, namely on kentrosaurus, of are we going to discuss like the placement of the spine? Because, all right, never mind.
Moving on.
So, we didn't talk about it in kentrosaurus, but I think that because we know more about the gigant spine and have something a little bit more concrete on it, that we could talk about it with this guy. Viewer, if you were unaware, it was common to kind of be a little wishy-washy on the placement of the shoulder of the commonly seen as shoulder spike on kentrosaurus. Of basically, did it go on the shoulder or did it go on the hips? And I think that the problem with a lot of these parascapular spines on stegosaurs is they're very often disarticulated from the specimen. And they're just found kind of in association with it. In our huayangosaurus video, we talked about how in the shaximiao, there's a couple parascapular spines that are entirely bodiless. And it's difficult to place where they actually come from. But with Gigantspinosaurus, that question kind of seems to be solved. While we're figuring out if they point up or down, or reviewing the literature on what people say if they point up or down, rather, they definitely seem to have been from the shoulder region and not over the hips, as was proposed in kentrosaurus. And I actually do not know if that fossil was kind of the nail in the coffin for the hip spike interpretation of kentrosaurus, but I don't know, it might be. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah. I'm looking at this again and I agree with Amelia. I think they pointed down.
Really?
Yeah, because that looks like it's articulate.
Yeah, I'm not... The other one is flipped up and over, but you can see how it would have sat the same way. Right. If anything, even if it's not pointing down, they're pointing more horizontally than they are up.
Yeah. I do wish that I could access Tracy Ford's article from Prehistoric Times where he made the other argument. I just want to see what his evidence is.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
Well, I don't want to accuse him of that. He's a very nice man.
No, I'm not. To be clear, I'm not accusing Tracy Ford of that. I'm quoting a funny thing that I like because I am so I don't care about this animal.
Well, Alex, you want to make yourself useful? Tell us about the phylogeny.
All right. Hey, so we're going to talk about the phylogeny of Gigantspinosaurus. So perk up those pink little ears, you little hogs, you little slop hogs. Got some information for you. So we're talking today about ornithischians. Those are the not really bird hip dinosaurs, herbivores. They start out as bipeds. Multiple times they evolved, big quadrupedal size. One of the earliest divergent groups that's big, Thyreophorans, the armored ones, Ankylosaurus, Stegosaurus. Gigantspinosaurus is one of the earliest stegosaurs we have temporally. It is from the late Middle Jurassic or the early late Jurassic, depending on which year publication you're checking, because there has been some refinement in that age. I think it's on the Middle Jurassic side of it now, but that could have changed. Anyway, despite that, it is not one of the most early diverging spines. Jesus Christ. Well, it's got a spine. It's basically a spine. There are spines involved. Stegosaur. Those are the huayangosaurs, and we've talked about huayangosaurus, and because we are a race filled with sin and God hates us, I'll have to talk about another huayangosaur at some point. Cool. But Gigantspinosaurus is not one of these huayangosaurs. Huayangosaurs, if you recall from our huayangosaurus video, more primitive body shape, kind of boxier skulls. Gigantspinosaurus does not have a lot of material. I think we've covered that it's like a jaw and a scapula spine.
No, there are two specimens.
Well, maybe there is more. But the point here is, I think so. It's found to be more closely related to stegosaurids, the family stegosaur, like things like Stegosaurus, kentrosaurus, huayangosaurus, but not, to the best of my knowledge, and the last time I checked, not particularly deeply nested in that group or found to be closely related to any of those individuals in particular. Maybe it's the sister group to stegosaurids, maybe it's in there, maybe there's a phylogeny that came out in like the last year that I don't know about, so Scott's going to tell me that this is wrong.
I was about to ask, actually, because in the Redescription, they actually say it's a huayangosaur.
Oh, never mind, it's huayangosaur.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, no, the phylogeny Alex is using is Susie Maidman's from 2017. So
okay,
it's much
that
more
was
recent,
that was
yeah.
more me wondering if you were using a more modern one than I was.
Which one were you using?
The Redescription, which is
Okay, no, yeah, I'm using Susie's.
Okay.
Thank you, Susie.
the
But yeah, so she
Redescription
says-
is like 2005 or something like that. 2007.
Oh yeah, more recent.
Yeah,
But
yeah, much
so she
more
gets it. Not as a huayangosaur, as more closely related to stegosaurus, which, you know, they do seem like. It seems like a lot of early dinosaur evolution, and that's important, is happening in China. Maybe they're evolving there, but there are also some early diverging stegosaurs, I think, in South America that are quite old. So, who knows?
Well, I mean, China. This is a thing I could talk about. That's not Gigantspinosaurus. China does seem to be the place with rocks that are the right age to see earlier stages in dinosaur evolution.
Yeah.
Preferentially. Right. I mean, that's not to diminish the importance of it at all. Like, far from it. It makes the Chinese fossil record more important.
Right.
Right. Like Zhangzhugang Basin stuff, Shishigo, shaximiao, Yunnan.
As earlier,
That stuff's all really, really important.
And probably why we're saying it's all originating in Asia, because the only middle Jurassic, the good fossil record of the Mesozoic on land.
Right. Although that gets to an interesting question of like, and this is something that I think has been debated for a while. Do you expect the origins of major groups to be in the largest geographical area where there's just the most like space and habitat and nutrients and all of that? Or do you expect it to kind of mirror island biogeography?
Right.
Well, not really island biogeography. Right,
No,
but like,
yeah.
Right. What happens on islands where things get isolated and they evolve fast.
This section of the video, can we have a banner that says paleobiogeography is fake? Go across the screen.
Well, we should. We should, because it's really, really hard to do. Biogeography is like
Hard to
pretty
do.
tough. It's hard to do with living animals. When you are dealing with the fossil record, it becomes really, really hard. But I think like it is true that we found these animals. Impossible would probably be a better word. We do know that these animals are like, we do find a lot of early representatives of a lot of important groups in China, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely.
Right. Is that possibly a mixed signal of the rocks exist, but also the groups did actually originate there? Or were they originating in other places and we start finding these groups in China because that's where the right rocks are? Right.
Valid.
This is like, I mean, I always use this analogy, but it's like, did humans, if you found the paleontological record of humans in the future, you would probably conclude that we mostly lived in cemeteries. Right, because that's where you'd find the most human remains. Now, some cemeteries are really far removed from population centers and like are not areas where people live. But there's also a big cemetery in the middle of Queens, New York. And I think if you were to find that and you said, oh, New York City was this area, this, archipelago was an area where a lot of people lived, you would be right.
Especially with all the bodies in the rivers.
With all the bodies in the rivers, too. Right. So it is one of these things where it
Sorry.
It is a very, I think it is an important thing to try to keep in mind that there are biases and that the biases may still contain valuable information. And so it's hard because if you write it all off as bias and say none of it's real, that's maybe a very safe thing to do. But there is also probably some, right. But there's also some real signal that's coming in. Like these animals did live there. Right, we know, like, that's not bias. Do we know that they only lived there? No. Do we know that they originated there? No. But
basically, it's like you can't know what we don't have, basically.
Right. This is, I don't want to say the phrase unknown unknowns because I don't want to give lip service to Donald Rumsfeld, but it is a very, it is a real phenomenon.
Yeah, and I think it's worth... Oh, sorry, Amelia.
Just the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. That's the line that I was trying to think of.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's...
That is my favorite line, as
Like
Amelia
Jimbo.
well knows. Yeah.
Like Jimbo says.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that we can't tell anything, right? Like, there's actually, in fact, evidence if you are finding a fossil of something, like... Right, so for example, marine organisms are more likely to die in situ. Like things that are living on a seafloor. As kind of you extrapolate out into the terrestrial realm, it becomes trickier and trickier to like figure out what was the organism's habitat. Trickier from just the depositional environment. But it's not impossible, right? Organisms are going to have adaptations. They're probably not coming from particularly far, and if it's an animal that is coming, maybe has been transported quite a way, their skeleton is usually in worse shape. Like, there's erosion, things are destroyed and fragmented. If you have a really nice skeleton, that animal probably died quite suddenly, probably nearby. It's not unreasonable to assume it was there. We're just saying that, it pays to be cautious.
Right.
Because...
Sorry.
I'm going to use an example I like to use, and I probably have talked about it on this channel before. But this is just before you go off and you think, I have all these questions. I'm interested in dinosaur habitats or dinosaur community structure. Imagine that. I want to direct you to Eurypterus remipes, a sea scorpion from the Silurian, from the Birdie waterline, from a huge area of Canada and upstate New York, and there are literally thousands of them. There are thousands of little Eurypterus remipes, and 99% of those are molts. And that is because, so like other things in the Birdie waterline are like a handful of orthocones and not much else. So like, what would we infer about the community structure here? Nothing. You shouldn't infer anything because they're coming in short of molt. That's not where they're living. Right? There's like one corpse, which maybe just one was bad at molting. So like...
No, it was the only one.
Like, yeah, so paleontology, and we all are more biology people than we are geology people, which is fine. Both are good. We both did some of each. But, like, it is really easy to forget that you are not just studying a biological system as a paleontologist, where you're like, oh, I want to interpret all these things that my cool friend ecologists who go and catch, like, salamanders can do. But you also have to seriously consider, like, how is this record here, and what are like the 18 filters this animal had to go through for me to be looking at its bones?
Right.
That's my soapbox.
No, and that's a good soapbox to be on. I think that a corollary to this is when you learn to be a scientist, and this is something that I have been on many a rant about, because I think that, unfortunately, I think that the act of like what science is, like what actually makes what you do science, is something that a lot of scientists don't seem to know. And a lot doing science is, fundamentally, this is like, if I'm looking at like people who want to become scientists, right? What I'm always looking for in answers about what does being a scientist means, it's that it means you are testing hypotheses, right? That is the scientific method. That is what makes science different, and I think the most powerful as a way of knowing.
Jimbo is hitting it out of the park on this, and I just want to say, we have a lot to say about Gigantspinosaurus when our conversation has gone down the route to the base of the tree of what is science.
What is science? Right. Science is when you test a hypothesis to falsify something and then try to, like, you're carving away at possibilities, right?
It can also be descriptive. But
the descriptive work is important in generating the data. But I think a lot of what we do in an anatomical description is a hypothesis test, right? Like, one problem that I'm facing a lot now is that a lot of the time we call this, like, structures the same phrase, which I would say is an implicit hypothesis that they're homologous.
You'd be
And it's
correct.
really frustrating when you're reading a description of, say, like, say you're scoring a matrix, you're focusing on Coelurosaurs, you need to work on more basal theropods as outgroups. This is a hypothetical. Of course I'm not scoring a matrix for Coelurosaurs. Right, no, of course. This is purely hypothetical.
And to say anything otherwise would be slander, and we'll sue you.
Right. So you have in compsognathids, right? So these are basal Coelurosaurs. you have there's an autapomorphic, or not autapomorphic, it's synapomorphic. It's a posterior projection of the premaxillary bone at the front of the snout on the underside of the maxilla. Right? It's kind of this accessory projection. It seems to be unique to compsognathids. That's called, in compsognathed literature, the maxillary process, which is distinguished from the subnarial process of the premaxilla. That's like a thin rod of bone that goes under the nostril hole.
Which is...
Right?
Yes.
But a lot of people call the subnarial process the maxillary process, which means that when I'm trying to score my matrix, I am frequently confused, and I get very frustrated because you need these are all hypotheses. I'm sorry?
It's and in crocodile morphs, it's called the posterior dorsal process of the premaxilla.
Right. Right.
Yay! These are animals that are all pretty closely related. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, maybe those terms should be standardized.
I would love that. So it is maybe. Amelia, you're muted. You're trying to.
Oh no! Has Amelia been trying?
Not very much. No, I've been mostly quiet.
Oh, that would have been very funny though if you hadn't been.
I have no idea. I don't have any recollection. It doesn't matter. My only point here was that it sounds to me like there's special words for one group and everybody else is doing it the same way, and yet somehow we have to pretend that the special group deserves special words because if I'm imagining the same structure, it's the same word for it in mosasaurs and in lizards as well.
The problem
which
is
the right word?
Posterior dorsal process of the maxilla.
Non-theropod gang, stay winning.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also, I think it becomes problematic because, like, the other process of the maxilla also goes posterior dorsally. Like, the one that frames, like in theropods, they both shoot that way.
Yeah, there are two.
Right. Okay. I prefer supranarial process and subnarial process.
That's good.
But anyway, it is, the problem also is that in Coelurosaurs, it's inconsistent. Right, in Coelurosaurs, some people call it a maxillary process, some people call it a subnarial process, and then you get this little lingua franca of description that develops for each subgroup, and it makes it really hard to compare anatomy between them.
Yep.
Anyway, what I was saying is that I think science is fundamentally about testing hypotheses, and the corollary to what Alex was saying that I just wanted to briefly bring up, because it's not like I have anything else to say about this animal, is that you might be able to show what things are not true, but when you can't distinguish between competing hypotheses, you need to be honest about that.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a trap a lot of literature I've seen falls into, where there's like some idea that they think is more likely, and they say, well, it could be all of this, but this seems like the most likely option. I'm like, if you don't have evidence to distinguish those things, like, I mean, listen, we're all guilty of this a little bit. Like, I've certainly written the same thing when I say, like, this could be homologous to this, or it could be a new structure, but, I think this is homologous to this. That seems most likely. Right? You have to make that call at some point.
I think it's good to include why you think it's important to mention this, or why, if you do err on one side, you're like, hey, because you are probably at that moment in time the person who's thought about that one small thing the most, and you did the little reading, and you're like, oh, yeah, well, I think this is this, but I can't prove it. And that's the important part.
Exactly. And I think in biogeographic scenarios, for instance, we could say, like, current evidence is most consistent with an Asian origin for many dinosaur groups.
Yeah.
Right. But we could say we also can't exclude the idea that they originated elsewhere and that their fossil record is only being picked up in Asia, because that's the main place where there's work being done in rocks that could preserve this unit of time. And therefore, that's where we will find their fossils if they exist.
It's, and it's... Maybe this is a little too inside baseball. We can choose to cut it. But this is a thing that I found to be kind of a conflict in writing papers for journal submission, which is that reviewers, not all the time, but sometimes if you're writing like for a higher impact journal, they do not they don't appreciate this is likely the origin, Tyrannosaurs likely originated in Asia. They're looking for Tyrannosaurs originated in Asia, and this is why my exciting new research shows that.
Right.
The couch, like the and usually later in the paper it's like very clearly stated where it's like, this is the most reasonable interpretation, blah 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 blah. But yeah, there's a lot of, because it's kind of paradoxical, because even if you can demonstrate that, it's always good to err on the side of caution, but in doing so in your writing, the chances of you making a persuasive argument are weakened because people will read you saying maybe or likely a lot. And, people are not trustworthy.
Right. And I think that's a good point. And I think that's why the most important thing to do, in my opinion, or maybe the most powerful thing to do, is just say, the available data says this.
Yeah.
Right. Admissible, like it's the same principle as admissible evidence in a courtroom, right? It's like, here's what we can actually say. Right. And you could conjure scenarios where none of it's true. And I think in cases where it's just, hey, there are no other rocks on Earth that preserve this timing interval, so we could only find them here.
Yeah.
At that point, I would say, like, this is probably not an important thing to even try to study, because there's no way we could get a different answer if it's different. But if there is the possibility, like, there are other Middle Jurassic rock layers. They are nowhere near as productive of animals as the Chinese layers are. Is that just because the Chinese layers are better for preservation? Or was this a more abundant fauna where you're going to find more things?
Maybe both.
I don't know. Maybe both. Right.
Maybe a little none. All right. Do we want to rank this? Because I'm like data.
An actual super really fun fact about Gigantspinosaurus is that it is one of the 2 examples of fossil skin impressions in stegosaurs.
I actually did not know that. That's very cool.
This guy and Hesperosaurus.
Oh, well. And that secret one that people have been sharing online.
The
mummy.
You mean the air quotes plateless one?
Yes. It had plates, everyone.
Yeah.
If you're seeing this video, the plates are there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like you can see the plate. You can see the base of a plate.
Oh, also, I just want to say, speaking of the base of the plate, before we even fully get on to the skin stuff, I find it really funny when I was reading through the Redescription that it's another example of paleontologists kind of roasting an animal that they're working on, that they say in reference to the cervical osteoderms that the articular surface is crude and oval, and I just found it funny.
Father, I love him. He is crude.
Anyways,
and oval, and I forbid it.
So, basically, a good thing that I can say about this model is this texture that we're seeing here is roughly just what stegosaur skin looked like.
Cool.
I would love to use some of the descriptors that they use in the paper on the osteoderms, but I can't because I read and speak Mandarin even worse than I read and speak French, which is worse than I read and speak English, which is bad.
Oh, Scott, you silly guy.
But I do find it interesting that in the paper that calls out, doesn't call out, in the paper that describes the skin impressions on Hesperosaurus, they specifically mention that these look almost identical to the ones they find on Gigantspinosaurus. So it seems like this is just kind of what stegosaur skin looks like. This
Neat.
pattern of small polygonal scales interrupted by large oval ones surrounded by the smaller scales. Like, sure, there could be like more of a, as they say in the Hesperosaurus paper, a rosette-like structure to the scalation, but this is not bad in any way, shape, or form. But,
cool. That's
yeah.
honestly doing a lot for it in my current evaluation.
Yeah.
I just was looking at it, and I really like. I was surprised. I liked the very subtle coloring, and like kind of what looks like it could be a transition in a different kind of like tissue over the spines.
Where? Like here?
I think the image. There we go. Yeah, like the faint blues. Or are those supposed to be shininess?
No. That's something that's variable on skin patterns. Is like, see,
cool.
this one's green. There's some of them that like these ones are a little bit more white stained up at the tips. More
That's
blue.
cool.
There's some ones that are like, this is a darker green. There's some reds.
No, I think that makes it just feel a little more
yellow.
alive.
I actually didn't realize that one of the two authors on the Hesperosaurus skin impression paper is Emmanuel Tschopp.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
And the
we
other
like
thing,
him.
yeah, I'm glad that you like our mother. But so the other thing is that, because I don't think that we're going to bring this up at any other point, the Hesperosaurus specimen that has the skin impressions also has what is interpreted to be keratin impressions on the plates. They specific and they have actually. I'll throw this in chat for you guys because the paper's open access, I think. Either that or it's logged me in on the institutional thing, and it's figure 6 in here shows some of the impressions that they mention, and they do specifically say a little bit later, like, we do not have direct proof that this integument was a keratinous covering. There are indirect lines of evidence, since keratinous coverings are the only hard integument that is known to cover such large surface invertebrates, and that the neurovascular sulci on the surface of the bone are highly indicative of keratinous covering. So they're like, this could be nothing, but we think it is. But if that is the case, that's the first hard evidence. Well, the first, I guess, direct evidence I've ever seen of keratin on the plates, which, I mean, they almost certainly had. But that's neat.
That is neat.
And then, well, speaking of the plates, also in the redescription, it seems like these guys kind of got the plates a little bit wrong. And I also want to poll the group for an interpretation of what the authors meant by this. In that, in the redescription, they say that like they get the cervical osteoderms pretty good, where they say that they are triangular and thin. That seems like very nice on how they do them here. And then they say that the dorsal osteoderms are relatively thick, which they kind of aren't here, I guess. Not super, they're still pretty thin. And then they say that they are peach-shaped, and I don't know what that means.
It means like heart-shaped, kind of,
I
but rounded.
guess, yeah. And
That's what I would say teardrop-shaped if I were describing it, but
okay.
maybe there's something to it that they thought was more specific to be peach, but or maybe not as pointed as a raindrop.
Maybe they got a butt
like
crack.
I would envision like 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 garlic, or that kind of like squat, sub-triangular.
Okay.
Would be the boring way to say it.
Yeah. And then I will also say that, like, a lot of the reconstructions of Gigantspinosaurus I have seen have also tried to give it a smaller but also pronounced hip spino, like we see here, where it's like the pair of plates directly over the hip are enlarged and a little bit pointier. I haven't seen any evidence for that, and from the skeletals I've looked at, I don't think that those are fossilized, so I don't know what that's from. Actually, I think that that's from huayangosaurus. But I don't think that we have any direct evidence of these. And I will also go out on the limb and say, from our point earlier, this thing definitely had plates going down its tail. 100%, like all of its relatives do.
Yeah.
They identified plates that they say are number 13, 14, and 15.
But
in the redescription.
Yes, but they do specifically say in the redescription as well that, like, a lot of the osteoderms are scattered and disarticulated, so attachment is unclear. Yeah. But this thing had tail plates.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it must have.
Yeah.
This is to bring back what Amelia said earlier, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The tail is not preserved. That doesn't mean there weren't tail osteoderms.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Are you sure about that?
Also, none of these animals had eyes. You can't prove there was an eye in that there hole.
What are they?
There's
Sicilians?
Eyes and then their
Perhaps.
holes.
The holes have eyes.
All right, everybody, let's rank this thing.
Please.
Let's stop. I
don't want All right, yes. Time to rank it. Who goes first?
We don't even,
Amelia, right?
We don't even have it up yet.
Amelia, just
it doesn't
say,
matter.
say,
Just say
a
it.
letter.
Be decisive.
I don't care about it at all. It doesn't look bad though. It had nice colors, which I appreciate, but the fact that so much of the model was broken was not helping. I didn't like the shoulders dislocating. I didn't like the hip spines doing the wobble. I didn't like the beak. It didn't look like a good beak to me. It looked like it had skin draped over the front of it in a way that I didn't like. It's a B. It's not, like, I don't want to put it in C because that feels too harsh, because, like, that is what it looks like. I'm just sick of looking at these things, and I heard that we have another one too. So,
Based.
Oh, Lord.
All right. Good. Concise.
Yeah. I like I felt a little bit about Crichtonsaurus. I like that they gave some life to this little thing with, like, you know, fairly interesting paint jobs and, like, a not, like, ugly and blocky sculpt of the head. Like, it looks like they tried to give it anatomy. We don't really have the upper jaw of this animal, so we don't know what it looked like, but it reminds me of the baby Stegosaurus from the Lost World a lot. I feel like that was probably the reference. It has a little bit of life to it, which I think saves me. I really only reserve the depths of the tier list for the things that are just kind of, like, shapeless and blocky. Or like, you know, Deinonychus is a good example. Like, it looks bad. However, the spines are probably in the wrong orientation. The tail is naked. The feet are always obviously wrong. I shouldn't double penalize it for that, but I'm going to. I don't know. I think this is a low B for me. Wait, let me look at the tier list.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Alex. A man has to have principles.
No, he does. Fine.
I
do we
can't
need to fill more time?
list.
I could fill like 30 minutes with Elden Ring trailer lore predictions.
I am going to give this
There we go. That got him to
a
speed up.
high C.
Ooh, that's like a drink.
Yep.
And Scott's English score in high school.
I did great in English in high school. I did bad in college.
Sorry, that was a cheap shot.
Lamau said the scorpion.
Like me when I go out for drinks with my friends. Cheap shots.
So I won't take off points for like the spines being in an incorrect orientation, because this is absolutely a case where that seems to be the commonly understood depiction of the spines right now. We just tend to think that might be incorrect, and I'm not going to penalize the modelers of Jurassic World Evolution, and by extension Evolution 2, for not being paleontologists. But I'll start off with good points. Like, I like that the head is a bit wider and a little blockier, because, like, according to, like, the lower jaw seems to be really well preserved. And also, I will say, because I don't get to talk about this much, it's very nicely prepped. And in particular, it really looks like whoever the preparator was took a bit of pride in their work and left some kind of decorative stuff in the sediment on the underside, and I appreciate that. They made it look pretty. But it looks like it was probably quite a bit wider than we see on Stegosaurus, and that looks really good. The good things have stopped now. I would like it if there was honestly a little bit more color on the plates. It looks like it was painted like 15 years ago, and it has worn away in the wind. Its feet are terrible, but they always are. The tail's naked, and I hate that. Its social animation's boring. It should have a longer neck. And in particular, the thing that kind of frustrates me is I noticed a little bit during the drinking animations is when it puts its neck down, it physically stretches the neck of the bottle a little bit so it could actually reach the ground. And I'm like,
Horrible.
Maybe that means they had a longer neck. And it also looks better with a longer neck when it goes to the drinking animation. So I don't know. I find it a little bit just dull but I'm happy it's in the game. Like, I will take the bold stance on the skeleton crew of I'm happy that we do have quite a few Asian stegosaurs in the game. I think that they are neat. It would be cool if we just had more animals in general. But yeah, I'd love a full like shaximiao or something. Maybe Prehistoric Kingdom can do that for us at some point. But all of
Don't
this
curse us with
wishy-washy.
this.
Huh?
Don't curse us with that. We have to do Prehistoric Kingdom too. I don't want to go through all of the shaximiao stegosaurs again.
There's like 40 animals in that game. They're not,
And they're all Asian stegosaurs.
I mean, they look great, but the species count is lower. I think because of the extra care.
For this species in particular, I will also give it a high C. I think it's fine, especially like if anything, I think the modeling issues kind of knock it down even more for me. Like, I cannot stop looking at that single monolithic block of plates on its back moving in unison. Alex.
Cool. Sorry. I'm here to tell you that this is a high C because there are too many of these. This one looks nice. I like the scales, and at least it has a cool feature, unlike Chunkingosaurus or Gigant or huayangosaurus. It's a high C. Let's move on to if we get Chunkingosaurus, I'm probably gonna.
First, I'm partaking in the single squamate brain, and I have a message from Dalton and a rank. It is a B for ambivalent.
That's correct.
It sounds like Dalton also may have gotten a high C in English.
Got him.
I don't know if it means that he's ambivalent to the animal or that the animal itself is ambivalent. I think both are true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for the animal.
Good for that. All right.
If it's true.
I'm so excited to rank it and spin that wheel.
Alrighty.
All right. Ooh. I see a lot of plated backs in C tier.
Weird. There's going to be one more.
We're renaming C tier Stegosaur tier.
So with that, Gigantspinosaurus will go up with its shaximiao brother in high C.
Okay. Shall
Yay,
we spin
great.
the wheel?
Spin the wheel, spin the
And
wheel,
now
spin the wheel.
it is time
Yeah, C tier, great.
to spin
Spin
that
wheel.
Wheel. There is the
There's
potential
probably
for
another
the funniest
DLC
thing
coming.
ever. Yeah, I know. Okay, we're past it.
Okay, something that doesn't suck to talk about. Yay! Something where we can talk about it. Yay! History.
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, this one's going to be fun.
Yay, get in Mantel's spine.
Yay! Kind of, admittedly a pretty neat animal that I think it's. Oh, there are two designs for this one too.
There are. This will be a double feature.
It'll be a beefy episode. So,
Like its arms.
because we are miserable, and so we would like to begin thanking people. Thank you to our audience. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it, please leave a comment, and please consider subscribing if you're here for the first time. We're happy to have you on board. Prolonged exposure to Gigantspinosaurus. We've reached the limit where we're just going to die in a week.
Yeah, I'm going to look like the guy from Chernobyl. The firefighter from Chernobyl. That's terrible. That was very grim.
Well, that
The
was a very bad thing
LD50
that
on Gigantspinosaurus.
It's low.
13,000.
It's a low dose that's needed. So I also want to thank our patrons. So we have a Patreon. If you like our content and want to support us as we try to make more of it, we really appreciate it if you would consider supporting us on Patreon. There's a bunch of benefits you get if you support us on Patreon. We have a wonderful Discord server, access to polls, exclusive merch, and of course your names in the credits of all of these videos. And so all of our patrons' names are now scrolling on screen for our credits. And I want to briefly highlight our most generous patrons, who at this point are Benjamin Seepser, nickname Philip Fico, AK92, Christopher Bellis Jones, Adamolos, Dan O'Kyrus, Isu152, King Zashu, Max Ironpaw, original username Pythonic, Swamp Ape Science, and Wheat. Thank you all. So thank you all to our patrons for your support of the Skeleton Crew. Thank you to all of our viewers for making this possible.
Yes, thank you. Alex. And before we sign off, I just want to give a tiny update on the Discord. If you are seeing this video, it's the future. But it's worth pointing out that if you're signing up so I can yell at you about movies that you like that I think are bad, or movies you don't like enough, or not in the right way, you're going to be out of luck. I'm mostly going to be using the Discord for the next 4 months to post Elden Ring DLC theories, and then also probably talk about Dune. So slight change in content in that regard, but it'll still be good.
We hope that you subscribe regardless.
Dune will be out when this video drops,
will be.
won't it?
Dune.
I personally very much look forward to watching Dune, but maybe not as much as I look forward to reading all of the comments on this video for when people point out that I haven't deleted Elasmosaurus off of the wheel yet.
Oh,
I got a message from a friend literally a couple days ago when the last video came out. A friend messaged me, he was like, hey, did you know you still had this on the wheel? And I said, dude, I swear to God, if another person tells me that we still have an animal on the wheel, I'm going to lose my entire mind.
You take it off.
Never fear. If it stays on the wheel accidentally and we roll it, we'll do it again like nothing happens.
No, we won't. We'll just repost the video.
Yeah, we'll just upload the same video again.
You'll like it, you hogs. Yeah. I want to go.
All right.
Anyway, thank you, everyone.
We just cut a bit there. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time when we talk about Iguanodon.
Bye.
Bye.